Husker fans. Thanks for tuning in to Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jenneret. Next to me is my co-host, Zach Jenneret. Zach, how are you today?
I'm doing good. So last week, I'm sorry for hanging all the fans out to dry. I just throw this out there. I didn't go to the rail yard. I didn't show up because I was in Memorial Stadium. I decided, you know what? If I'm going to be in Lincoln, what am I doing out of this stadium, right? And so I just found some tickets and got my way in. Great time. Personally, I thought we were going to storm the field. We didn't. I also looked back. I don't know that Nebraska has ever stormed the field in Memorial. Even way back when we were 5-7 with Mike Riley, and we beat Michigan State when they were number 7 in the nation. We didn't storm the field. And I think most of that is because the walls in Memorial are roughly 8 feet tall. So good luck jumping over those.
Yeah. Also, football schools don't storm the field. So.
Yeah. Also, there's a fence around our field. Like, not only is there a wall, but there's another fence around the field. And so no one storms the field in Nebraska, which kind of sucks. I do think if we would have beat Oklahoma when we were there, we would have
found a way.
We would have stormed the field. We would have found a way to storm the field. I have stormed the field personally. It was in enemy territory. I stormed the Iowa Hawkeye field when they beat Penn State. I was in Iowa gear. Not my best moment. It was fun, but not my best moment. But yeah, I was at Memorial, and it was a great time, and it was great to see him win. It's always a great time at Memorial. I've never had a bad time in that stadium. Although I am now going into that game, I was 0-3 there. Nebraska was 0-3 with me there. Now they're 1-3, so that's good to see. It was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, super excited for this week too. Obviously, we got an early game. You're seeing this on Friday before the game. So yeah, you're getting a quick turnaround, getting real up close with the preview. But also, we didn't do a review episode. Scheduling didn't work out, so we just put it all into one. But before we start, doing a shout out, Tony the Tiger. His comment's going to pop up here. I said last week, comment down below your score prediction, and closest gets it. His wasn't very close, but he was the closest. So shout out to him. And then once again, comment down below your score prediction, and we're going to shout out the closest answer. So socials, follow all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Always posting stuff on all of those platforms. Trying to do more TikToks, just haven't had the time, really super busy. But yeah. You got anything else before we get started?
No, I'm just ready to get into it. Excited for this game for sure.
Yeah. So the only thing we're going to do with the review on Indiana, since it's been a while, almost a week now, we're just going to go over our MVPs. So shout out our MVPs. Let's start with offense. I think this one might be self-explanatory. There was a couple choices, but there was one that stood out to me. Trey Palmer was my offensive MVP. 157 receiving yards and a touchdown. Just unreal. The dude was making plays everywhere. Really looked like a true wide receiver one, and everybody knows he's the fastest player on the field. Just finally got it to him in those situations, and obviously it paid off. And hopefully we can get more of that as he was added to the Biletnikoff watch list, which for those of you that don't know, the Biletnikoff Award is the best receiver in college football. So to be added to that watch list is pretty cool. Pretty cool to see that, especially for a Nebraska receiver. Probably our most, I wouldn't say disappointing position over the last decade, but definitely one of our least talented, I think. So good to have someone in there that's getting that recognition.
Yeah, and that's who I put up there for offensive MVP as well. Like you said, 157 yards and a touchdown. That's just something you don't see a lot in the Nebraska game, where we've always been. And I think we should always stick to being that run first offense, but to have a guy that's going to show up in those play action plays. And then like that 71-yard touchdown, let me tell you, that was something cool to see in person, that 71-yard touchdown. That really, it felt like the momentum was there at that point. And it felt like there was just, no way of stopping us. whatever you wanted to do there. And so, yeah, for sure, Trey Palmer. And like you said he's the fastest on the field. I would even go as far as I think the guy is the fastest receiver in the Big Ten. Personally, I mean, he is very, very fast.
Mhm.
And also, sorry, also on that, we finally got to see him return punts.
Yeah.
And I was a little scared first when he just caught the punt and stood there. I was, I'm not gonna lie. But I also thought it was really cool that he has, the awareness and the ability to stand there, let his blocks form, and then find those holes, and it worked for him. We got, 15, 16 yards on that return.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so moving on to our defensive MVP. My defensive MVP was Garrett Nelson. Definitely played his best game, I think. He finished with 2 sacks on the day and just showed the emotion. And I think his emotion was contagious throughout the whole team. I think everybody saw how much effort he was putting in, how much he cared, how hard he was playing. And I think everybody just put that effort in. And that's just kind of the leader that he is, I think. And people on the team have said this is the best leader I've ever seen. So Garrett Nelson is my defensive MVP. Shout out to him. Hopefully he can keep this trajectory up because this pass rush is supposed to be the strength of the defense, maybe even the strength of the team. And it hasn't been that so far, but I think it was on last Saturday. So shout out to Garrett Nelson for that.
Yeah. My defensive MVP is a guy that I feel like has been playing subpar for the last 4 weeks of the season, and just hasn't been living up to the hype that everyone went into. And this week he did, and that's Luke Reimer. Luke Reimer was the guy that I, in the Northwestern game, said to take off the field because I just felt like he wasn't playing well. He was missing tackles left and right. He was falling out of coverage. This game, he had 5 tackles. 2 of those were solo tackles. He had 2 pass breakups and that crazy interception. Down on their end of the field where he, let's just say, smoked the receiver. It wasn't targeting. I was there.
No, it wasn't.
Shut up, Indiana fans. That wasn't targeting. Everyone wanted a targeting call on that. I don't care. That was a really good play and a really good interception. Yeah. So my defensive MVP is Luke Reimer.
Yeah. So shout out to those guys. I think the defensive unit easily played their best game. Only
played so well.
Allowing 14 points to this high-powered Indiana offense is something that definitely needs to be shouted out.
Yeah, and then so comparing this game just in person, I feel like you see a lot more things than you would on the TV. And so like being at like the Wisconsin game, the Oklahoma game, the Iowa game last year, right, when Scott Frost was leading his team, I felt like maybe on the field, player to player, there was a ton of emotion, right? There was always a ton of emotion. They're always picking each other up. As soon as they got to the sideline, nobody talked to Frost. Frost didn't talk to anyone. Coaches didn't. I didn't never see Chenander talking. I saw Mickey Joseph, Bill Bush, Mark Whipple, all the guys going up to the players, jumping up with the players, talking to them after they gone, getting excited with the players. And I thought that was huge. I don't think we ever saw Scott Frost chants in the locker room post game. And I think there's something special to that. I think it's like, this Mickey Joseph has got this team fired up and energized. And you could see that at the game. You could feel it in the crowd. The entire game felt like the first 5 minutes of the Oklahoma game in the stadium. And I think that's mostly because of the energy that Mickey Joseph and the players were able to put out.
Yeah, no, you could easily tell that just something was different with this team. And super excited to see if that and how that is progressed throughout the year. But lastly, our special teams MVP, or my special teams MVP, is freshman corner Malcolm Hartzog. He had the blocked punt touchdown, and I just wanted to really shout him out because getting the start is huge. Getting the start in a Big Ten game, especially when you haven't started all year, over a guy like Tommy Hill, who's been a staple in the defense all year. I was worried, to say the least. I mean, not a big guy and hadn't played all year. So I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? But I trusted him. I trusted Bill Bush in the defense, and I trusted Mickey. And it showed out. Malcolm Hartzog held his own, didn't allow too much. I think allowed a few catches, but nothing major. And then obviously he had the huge momentum changing blocked punt touchdown because Indiana, I think, had just scored a touchdown.
Mhm.
And then had the ball, and then the big time block punt, and then he returns it for a touchdown. Just changed the whole momentum, changed the whole emotion of the game, and just wanted to shout him out because he held his own, played a great game overall.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this is allowed, but who cares? Because who makes the rules? But I have special teams MVPs here. So first one is Chris Kolarevic. Chris
Mhm.
Kolarevic is actually the guy that blocked the
Kolarevic?
punt. So he was actually the guy that got in there and was able to block the punt. So I don't want anyone to forget about that guy. He's really what made the play first happen initially. And then Malcolm Hartzog, not only for picking up that punt and returning it for a touchdown, but also, like you said on the drive before, Indiana scored. So the reason Indiana scored is because Hartzog actually got beat deep by one of their receivers. And in the past, if you watch, and I actually have this, and what I liked is that in the past, Nebraska, when something bad happens, right, the Chuba Purdy fumble, last year the Iowa blocked punt, in Oklahoma the big touchdown run, we fall apart, right?
Yeah.
One bad slip up, the onside kick in the Northwestern game, we fall apart. Malcolm Hartzog gets beat, lets up a touchdown, turns around and is like, okay, I got to make up for it, and gets one of his own. And so I really like that because I feel like that actually kind of fueled us to be like, okay, we just allowed the Purdy touchdown and the Cochran, penalties. And then now we're 21-21. We're going into half. Momentum's all their way. And then for us to just be like, no, like switch it and bring it back the momentum our way. That's what I really like to see at Hartzog, especially as a freshman, knowing that they're going to pick on him going into that game because he is a smaller freshman DB against one of the better passing teams in the Big Ten.
Yeah, 100%. So super proud of him. Super fun to watch. Super excited what he can do the rest of his career. Only a freshman. He's got so much left to do. So moving into the preview of the Rutgers game, before we go into actual, why we're excited, why we're scared, I want to mention, I think it's weird how it's a Friday night game, but I kind of like it. I am going to be working, so I won't be able to watch the game live, but I'll be keeping track of the scores and stuff like that, obviously. But yeah, it's weird that it's a Friday night game. I'm a little disappointed that it's a Friday night game because it'll be the only game all year that I won't be able to watch live. But you got to do what you got to do, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. You got anything before we get into it?
Yeah, so I'm actually on the complete other side of that. So up here at Central, we have homecoming this week, and homecoming starts at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And so what everyone does is they put a little party liquid in starting about 5 o'clock, and then starting at 6 o'clock, that's when it continues. For me, obviously, I'm going to start at 5 o'clock, but I'm not going to do homecoming things at 6 o'clock. I'm going to have the Nebraska game up on the big screen. So keep track of my Twitter. Things may be flying around. Who knows? But I love it. I honestly I love night games. Nebraska always seems to play well in the night, except for Georgia Southern. That was terrible. But other than that, I don't know if anyone's ever seen Rutgers Stadium, but it's like a middle school stadium compared to a Memorial, and they might put 12 people in it. So yeah, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, another thing I'm excited for is so the Broncos play tonight, which is my NFL team. I'm a Broncos fan. And then Nebraska plays on Friday. So I'm gonna have a stress-free weekend. I'm just gonna watch the games, enjoy football, because I won't have to worry about, is Nebraska gonna lose? Is Nebraska gonna win? Are the Broncos gonna lose? Are the Broncos gonna win? I can just watch, because whatever happens on Thursday, Friday, it'll be out of my mind by Saturday. So that is something I guess I can look forward to.
Yeah,
But
and also last thing that I like about this Friday night game. So we have Illinois next week, right? And Personally, I think Illinois is going to go out and they're going to beat Iowa this week, and they're going to be 5-1, 2-1 in the Big Ten. Only lost to Indiana, so look out, Illinois. Yeah, we're coming for you. You take your head off. But anyways, and I think they're coming to a Memorial for that. And we get extra time, right? So if we play on Friday, then we can take Saturday off. Then we can practice on Sunday. Then we can take Monday off, right? Technically, we have to. And then we can go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and have all that time to prepare and, have all that extra time for a really good team that I think if we go out and beat Illinois, why wouldn't we be favored in the West, right? Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Especially if Illinois puts on a good showing this week against Iowa.
Exactly. And I think they will.
Yeah, that's probably two of the best defenses in the Big Ten right now. Because
and one of them has an offense. So
there you go. Yeah, so jumping right into it, why we're excited is what we're going to do now. We'll do all three. We'll each do all three. How's that? Okay. So why I'm excited. Nebraska has never lost to Rutgers since they joined the Big Ten. Nebraska has, I'll say, not been the best since joining the Big Ten. It's been a little bit disappointing. But one thing we can say is we've never lost to Rutgers. So why would we start now? At our worst, we still beat them. So I think right now we got momentum going. We got the energy in the building. And I think Nebraska has a good shot to come out and just keep that winning streak going. Second, Iowa put up 27 points on Rutgers. And as we know, Iowa doesn't really have an offense. They only put up 7 against South Dakota State, and that's without a single touchdown. So not too worried about Rutgers defense. Actually, I do have something about Rutgers defense and why we should be scared, but that's a different thing. We're excited right now. And thirdly, it is a night game. And as Zach mentioned, we do normally play better at night. There has been some slip ups, but normally the energy is there at night games. And I think with everybody's always more excited for a night game, whatever level you're at, NFL, high school, college. I think a night game is just more fun for everyone and they look forward to it more. So that is why I'm excited. And that is why I think we'll win this game.
Yeah. So why I'm excited here. First off, there's no reason I believe I don't have the exact stat, but I know Rutgers pass blocking is subpar, and it's actually worse than Indiana's statistically. And I think Rutgers has played worse teams than Indiana, and so there's no reason we shouldn't get to the quarterback here. We should definitely get to their third string quarterback here, and I don't know. Well, I think for sure we should pressure the quarterback, which will force them to run the ball, in which they only average about 3.5 yards a carry. And so that I'm definitely excited for that. I think our defense has a good chance to show out. Rutgers, like you said, gave up 27 to Iowa. 14 of those were defensive scores for Iowa. But you let Spencer Peters score a touchdown in that game. And so why can Casey Thompson and Anthony Grant not? The only way to really stop Nebraska here for Rutgers is stop Anthony Grant. He's one of the best backs in the nation. So I don't see that happening. And then next up, I just feel like Nebraska's on this, I don't know, some sort of high right now of Mickey Joseph is God. Mickey Joseph is the best. And the players are on his back and the players love him. Garrett Nelson actually came out and was like, I want to play for Mickey Joseph. Everyone here wants to play for Mickey Joseph. Nobody ever said that about our previous coaches. No players ever came out and was like, I want to play for Mike Riley. I want to play for Scott Frost. No one ever said that. And so I think he's able to, tell these players, like, you fought through so much adversity, like, show everyone what you got. And then I like how Mark Whipple told him, he actually put the Big Ten rankings on the screen and said, you're tied for first in the Big Ten. Play like it. Like, you're literally tied for first in the Big Ten West right now. So go out there and win the Big Ten West.
Yeah,
And
100%.
so,
And
yeah, the energy really excites
yeah. So now moving into why we should be scared. There is reasons. I found myself having some trouble finding reasons this week, which isn't normal. Normally I can find, 6 or 7 reasons that we should be scared as Nebraska fans, but this week it was tough to find 3. So the first one I have is Rutgers. We mentioned that Iowa put up 27 points on them, but they do have a top 20 defense in the nation. They are number 18 in total yards of defense. So I think statistically that might be the best defense that we've played so far. Maybe at the time Oklahoma had a better defense, but these past 2 weeks they've given up over 1,000 yards in total offense. So I don't think I don't think they have that high of a ranking anymore. But then number 2, the only team that has not had 2 turnovers against Rutgers this year is Iowa. Even Ohio State had at least 2 turnovers against this Rutgers team. So this Rutgers team knows how to force turnovers, and we'll talk about it more in the X factors, but that's really important. It's really important. Turnovers, whoever wins the turnover battle has a really good chance to win the game. And that's just how it is with football. That's just how it's always been. And then lastly, as I said, it was pretty tough to find reasons. So my last one is Rutgers is wearing all black, and that's pretty intimidating. And it probably seems a little scary to the players. Maybe not, probably not, but I think all black's really cool. And I think if you look good, you play good. And Rutgers is probably going to play a little bit better than they usually do with their all blacks on. But yeah, it was pretty tough to find 3 reasons.
Yeah, I know the Rutgers fans are also showing up in all black, but unless you're going to go out there and paint the seats black, there's not going to be much black in those stands.
Right.
You know, maybe a few with the parents that show up to the game. But that's about it. You know, most people are probably going to go to their local high school football team play that night instead. And so, yeah, like you said, a reason we should be scared is this Rutgers defense is top 20 in the country. But here's the reason why. This isn't saying we shouldn't be scared, but I'm just going to go out and say it. Their first game was Boston College. Their second game was a team named Wagner that I've never even heard of. And then they played Temple. Seems like you can put up a lot of.
Who may have the worst offense out of all those teams.
Yeah, and they played Iowa. And so it seems like you can put up some defensive stats against those teams. I believe they were pretty high until they played Ohio State and gave up 49 points. So, yeah, sure. Yeah, there is a reason to be scared since they are a top 20 defense in the country, but I don't want people to think that this is like some stellar 5-star defense either, with them playing, 4 terrible offenses this year so far. Another reason we should be scared. We are still Nebraska. We beat Indiana, but every time, and I heard someone say this, every time I feel like Nebraska should win a game, they lose, right? Last week, it seemed like everyone thought they were going to lose, and we won. Every week before that, everyone was like, oh, we should win, right? And we lose. So, I don't know. I feel like that's a reason we should be scared, is that maybe, we are still only 3-point favorites, and this Rutgers team isn't terrible, right? This isn't your 0-12 every year Rutgers. This is, on the rise Rutgers, still bad, but on the rise. And then I think my most important reason, and my last reason you should be scared, is this is our first road game, right? So we played a.
Oh.
No, listen. So we played a Northwestern team in Ireland. That was not a hostile environment. That was full of Nebraska fans. A few Northwestern fans here and there, but that wasn't really a road game in a hostile environment. Then we come back, we play North Dakota at home, Georgia Southern at home, Oklahoma at home, and then Indiana. We're going to New Jersey, blackout game, night game. This is our first hostile environment road test, and we don't know how these guys are going to react to that. And so that's just my last, and I think most important reason we should be scared.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, I guess I didn't really take into account that the Ireland game was kind of like a home game, I guess, if you count all the fans, because I'm sure it was 75% Nebraska fans there.
Exactly.
At
Exactly.
least,
So,
at least. But
yeah.
yeah, that is a good point. So moving on to our Husker X factors for this game. My number one is offense. Offense has looked good. Defense hasn't looked good most of the season. Looked good last week. But yeah, as we mentioned, Rutgers statistically has a top 20 defense, and we need to see this offense come out and put up big time numbers. And we know Anthony Grant's going to come out and put up numbers. We know the run game's going to work. It just depends on what the pass game's going to look like with Trey Palmer, Marcus Washington, Casey Thompson, how he's going to do. He got coached hard last week by Mark Whipple, but it looked like he responded. So we're going to see if he can keep those mistakes to a minimum. And I think that's a huge X factor in this game. And number two is switching to the defensive side, defensive consistency. As we've seen throughout the year, the defense has been bad in general. Last week, absolutely played the best game of the season. Looked really good and played hard, played with effort. But until we start seeing that more consistently, it's going to be tough to believe that's how it's going to be, just because of how bad the defense was the previous weeks. So defensive consistency is my number two X factor. And then lastly is, as I mentioned, winning the turnover battle. Rutgers knows how to force turnovers, and they have forced turnovers against some really good teams like Ohio State. So I don't think Nebraska hasn't really had a turnover problem all year. I think the offense has been pretty safe with the ball. But I think in order to win this game, we have to win the turnover battle. I think it's going to be closer than people think. I mean, I hope Nebraska blows them out, but if it's a close game, it's really going to come down to those little mistakes, and those little mistakes can turn into points, and turnovers can turn into touchdowns, and it can get ugly if we start turning the ball over like crazy, which I don't think we'll do. But yeah, like I said, Rutgers knows how to force some turnovers. So those are my three Husker X factors for this game.
Yeah. For me to start off, I feel like Nebraska has got to establish the run. This is a team that gives up a lot of rush yards. They're not very strong up front. Most of their defensive stats come in the pass game. That's where a lot of the turnovers are coming from. They have a little bit of a pass rush, and so I feel like we have to establish the run. We did it really well last week, and I feel like this, to really get the pass going, we saw that you got to open it up with Anthony Grant. And then next up, I feel like we have to have a pass rush. So, like I said, this is their third string quarterback. The thing about their third string quarterback is he is fast and he can run. But if you're able to get to him and make him sit in the pocket and throw, he's not all that great when he's throwing. If you let him escape the pocket and let him run, he's going to beat you on the outside, and he's going to beat you up the middle. And he's going to gain 5 or 6 every time. So I feel like we have to QB contain and get a good pass rush here. And then next up, I feel like you said, we have to win the turnover battle. Not only that, I feel like the penalties need to clean up, and just the mental mistakes need to clean up. At the game last week, not all those penalties were our fault. Those refs were quite abysmal, quite terrible. That was ridiculous. I don't think Turner Cochran should have been thrown out of that game. I don't think there should have been a lot of penalties that there were. But like Mickey Joseph said, that's what happens when you play aggressive defense. But some of those weren't aggressive defense. Some of those were dumb plays that never should have been made and never should have happened. So mental mistakes got to clean up, because, like you said, I think this is going to be a close game. And that's what close games come down to, is those little tiny things like penalties, turnover battles, and just mental mistakes that we can't let happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's what we got for the Rutgers preview. Hope you enjoyed this big time episode, as we had to pack 2 episodes really into one. And comment down below once again your score prediction for tonight. Who goes off? Who has a bad game? Who has the best game? Who breaks out? How does Casey Thompson do after last week? Not saying he had a bad game last week, obviously. Just the tough coaching from Mark Whipple. How does he respond? Does Anthony Grant go for 200? Anything you want to comment, just comment it down below. We want to talk to you guys. Have a ton of fun talking to you guys. So yeah. Zach, you got anything else?
No, I think that's it for me. I can't wait to watch these guys play tomorrow.
Yeah. So here we go. Like and subscribe. Comment down below your scores. Follow all the socials that are going to be up on your screen once again. And yeah, make sure you tune into every single episode. Watch out for weekly coach power rankings that come out every Sunday. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that every Sunday. And then, yeah, we will see you guys hopefully next Tuesday.